It is time for our injury report, and we do that each and every week here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN with Dr. Kevin McHale, Cape Regional Health System. For an appointment, call 609-463-CAPE or visit us at caperegional.com/orthopedics. Doc, welcome back, man. How are you?
Good. How you doing? Always nice talking to you guys after an Eagles win.
Yeah, man, and not only after an Eagles win, a healthy win. I mean, how rare is that? When you get out, I'm sure there's some bumps and bruises, but, you know, when you've been on those sidelines with the Patriots, to see a team pretty much get out of a game with nary an injury is pretty rare.
Oh, yeah, that's always, makes the win that much better. I mean, a lot of times we have these Pyrrhic victories where you have somebody coming out with a win, but they lose a star player that's going to affect them the rest of the season. So every time you come out of a game unscathed, it's a huge, huge win for the team.
All right, some guys didn't make it out. Doug Baldwin, let's start with him. Grade 2 partial MCL tear. It looks like Doug Baldwin could miss some time. We'll get to Aaron Rodgers a little bit later because his injury similar but a little bit different. So how's Doug Baldwin, the grade 2 partial MCL tear?
Yeah, so when we talk about ligament tears, just in general, there's always a spectrum of severity. So we use this grading system 1, 2, and 3 to give us an idea about how bad that tear is. So a grade 1 tear would be something where primarily all the fibers of that ligament are intact, no real significant tearing, just kind of pain with stretch, not a lot of laxity there. As opposed to a grade 2 where you have some partial tearing, now all of a sudden you are going to have a little bit of laxity in the joint, but again, not a complete tear, which would then make it a grade 3, much more laxity and obviously a much more lengthy time to return. So classically with a grade 2 MCL sprain, you're looking at around a 2 to 4 week timeline to get a player back on the field. You need some time to allow that ligament to heal a little bit and then get the swelling and range of motion, swelling down, the range of motion back, and get it back out to play. The one thing that the Seahawks have on their side, though, is Doug Baldwin's a tough guy. I think he only missed about 2 games in about 110 regular season games, which is incredible. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him on that earlier end of that spectrum. But, he may, in fact, miss a little bit of time.
All right, Aaron Rodgers, we saw that last week. Looked like he took a hit. He left the game, and then he had to come back. We saw him with a brace on. It appears he has a left MCL sprain, a grade 1 or 2 sprain. How's that different from what Doug Baldwin's going through? It looks like Rodgers will play, Baldwin won't.
So the only difference is how much of that ligament's torn. So with a grade 1 to grade 2, it's either a very, very small partial tear or very little tearing at all in the ligament, as opposed to a more severe grade 2 where you have more partial tearing. So in both cases, when these players are back out playing, they're going to be in that knee brace. Hinge knee braces in general do a good job of supporting the MCL. The MCL is the ligament on the inside of your knee that provides some stability to that side-to-side motion, and the braces do a good job of protecting it. So if a player gets some, a contact from an opposing player like Aaron Rodgers did, unfortunately, when he got sacked, it can help protect it when he's back out on the field. So both players will be in a brace. That grade 1, you're not as much of the ligament's actually torn, so it's still stable, and the brace gives that extra stability. The pain and swelling is going to be there, so he's going to be playing through this injury. It's not like it's magically healed already, but it's safe enough for him to get back out on the field a little bit more quickly.
We'll also take a look at another interesting injury. This one's unfortunate, and I really want to get your take on this one because it was gruesome to look at. And we saw last year with Ronald Darby a similar look to that ankle injury. Odell Beckham had it like that, but Delaney Walker, a ligament damage, a dislocated ankle, so he'll miss the remainder of the season. And you look at the video of that, you could see that was a pretty gruesome injury. But when you have the dislocation and ligament damage, is this a career-threatening type of injury?
So the bad news is it's definitely season-threatening, right? We already know he's out for the season, and typically these injuries do cause, our season ending in general. But the good news, if there is good news in this case, is that typically they're not career-threatening. After a player, gets this fixed, and it will obviously require surgery to get it fixed, after it heals, they can get back at a very high level. Just look at what Beckham did, that first game of the season. He had an excellent game against a tough defense and didn't look like there's any signs of him slowing down. So after it's healed, they do really well. The only problem is when you have this type of severe injury, it does take a little while to get that to heal. When we talk about fracture dislocations of the ankle, we talk about how that foot dislocates out from underneath the lower leg, and typically when that happens, it leads to at least a break of your lower leg bone called your fibula. Oftentimes the lower portion of the tibia can be fractured as well, or at least a ligament next to it. And then sometimes that ligament that connects the two of them, called your syndesmosis, can be injured as well. That's that ligament that we talk about sometimes that's injured during high ankle sprains as well. And oftentimes, all of these issues need to be addressed at the time of surgery, obviously. It needs some time to heal. And after it's fixed, though, once the bones heal and they're able to start the rehab, they should be doing fine. But it takes about 4 months just to get them running again, and probably about 6 months before he's back to sport-specific activity. So we won't see him until next year, but hopefully it shouldn't affect his overall play too much.
All right, we're talking with Dr. Kevin McHale from Cape Regional, our injury report. And these are NFL guys, but how about our old co-host Pete Thompson, who broke his humerus bone at a high school football game last week? Doc, he was filming the highlights for SNJ today. He took a hit. He was trying to break his fall, and his humerus bone snapped, and he had surgery from the trauma unit last week, and it looks like he's going to have 6 weeks recovery.
Yeah, it's definitely a season-ending injury for him, too, I mean, they're unfortunate injuries. I mean, nobody wants to break their humerus. It's, obviously your humerus is that long bone in your upper arm, connects your shoulder to your elbow. When you break it, it can, it's very painful. Oftentimes it does need surgery, especially if there's significant displacement there. Most of the time people do really well after the bone heals, and it doesn't really affect the overall function too much. But sometimes you can deal with some stiffness and some residual issues like that. But I'm sure he'll make a good comeback once he has some time to heal.
Now, the interesting thing is he said he didn't really feel pain. I guess he was in some sort of shock, right? I mean, the video was pretty graphic. I mean, he got knocked over, and he said he tried to roll over to get up, and he's like, where's my arm? It was just dangling behind him, but he said he really never felt any pain.
Yeah, adrenaline does a little bit of a crazy thing there. That's oftentimes the same thing with pro athletes, right? We talk about them playing through injury on adrenaline. That next day, sometimes you won't hear about somebody getting injured until the day or two later, when all of a sudden, you think the team might be keeping on something secret from everybody. But oftentimes the players don't even realize how bad it is until the next day. So it's really just that adrenaline going. Sometimes the muscles are almost in a little bit of a shock, and then over time, as the kind of swelling starts creeping up on you and there's more and more inflammation, the pain gets more severe, and you start realizing, oh, yeah, I definitely broke something, that's for sure.
Okay, Dr. Kevin McHale, this week's injury report brought to you by Cape Regional Health, and good stuff between Rodgers and Baldwin. Rodgers looks like he'll play. Baldwin should miss a couple of weeks. It's brought to you by Cape Regional Health System and Dr. Kevin McHale. For an appointment, call 609-463-CAPE. or visit caperegional.com/orthopedics. And we know no Carson Wentz this week, still not cleared for contact. That's been the big discussion. We talked a little bit about it last week, but it sounds like there's some more optimism. I want to get your thoughts on this GPS technology that people are talking about, and how are you familiar with what they're reading there? Because it sounds kind of weird that they're using some sort of chip to figure out whether or not will be ready to go.
Yeah, there's more and more emerging technologies that they're using for this, and sometimes they can use this GPS technology to look at overall speed, how many reps they're getting. They're using it for a lot of different things. In the preseason, they can use it to try to have an idea when they're gradually advancing players to try to help prevent those overuse injuries, the hamstring strains, stuff like that, to try to kind of monitor people's overall performance. In the setting of a post-op rehab like Wentz, it could be that they're kind of tracking how much they're getting him back out on the field at a given time, seeing how much reps, the speed that he's running, the distance that he's covering, all that kind of stuff plays a role. So it's really interesting how they're applying this kind of technology to help the decision-making. They take all these factors into consideration when they try to figure out if a player is ready to play,
Yeah, that's something new. I've never heard that before. GPS technology now, finding out, and it sounds like sooner than later on Carson Wentz. So we'll see if would you be surprised if he plays next week?
This coming week 2, I'd be a little surprised. I think they're announcing
not this week, next week.
By week 3. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I'll have to say that every win we get without Wentz under center is actually a huge win for the team, because every week of extra healing he gets without getting hit.
Is that something that is considered? Is that something that's considered by these NFL teams and coaches? Like, hey, we're playing well without them. We don't need them. Are there times that guys are cleared and they just are playing well without them, so they let them heal up more?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, when you look at the playoffs, just think about the playoffs, how many players are out there playing through injuries that otherwise they would absolutely get an extra week off in the regular season, right? So everything's a risk-benefit ratio. Obviously, what's most important is the player's overall health, and they would never clear a player to get back on the field if it's unsafe. But it's those borderline cases where maybe week 3 of the regular season, or they might say, oh, you know what, we're going to rest you this week, as opposed to getting into playoffs and we say, we absolutely need you out there. So, you know, they would never put a player on the field if it was unsafe, but they would absolutely consider all these factors for those borderline cases when maybe they can't afford to give an extra week of rest.
Okay, interesting stuff to look at. We'll see the latest on Carson Wentz for next week's edition of the Injury Report with Dr. Kevin McHale here on the Sports Bash Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thanks, Doc.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.